Mr. Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rare that I'd rise to speak on an issue like this. And I understand what Sam was saying about fishing versus agriculture. But we've never had a critical circumstance like this in California in its history that I know of. The greatest food production area in the world is in jeopardy of falling apart. LA Times article over the weekend, a picture of a tomato grower, hundreds and hundreds of acres, out of production, period, because they can't turn on the pumps to deliver water to all those acres. I mean, I really am concerned about the smelt. I really am. But in turn, when you've got 40,000 unemployed people in the Fresno region, most of them Hispanic, because the pumps haven't been turned on, and at the same time you face the reality of people all over our state and the country having radical adjustments upwards of the price of their food because of this, as you destroy that industry, I mean, it's almost laughable. There was an occasion in New Mexico some years ago where, because of a similar crises, there was a waiver for a period of time. And we're suggesting that right now you're about to destroy that agriculture industry. Now look, when you put unemployed people of Hispanic descent in Fresno on the one hand, and people in Los Angeles on the other hand, who in just a few years, because of this kind of dumb water policy, dictated by the courts in this case, you're going to find people in Los Angeles not just paying higher prices for food, but in about a year and a half, their water prices are going to double, and then beyond that, there's going to be water rationing in Los Angeles County. I can tell you, when that occurs, and it occurs because of a lack of action in this committee, whoever is responsible for it, the highest level in the leadership on your side of the aisle, even those from California, are going to hear from those folks. This is a critical issue, and you're going to destroy this industry unless this amendment is passed.
Mr. Chairman, again, I want just to reiterate that we're talking about overriding the Endangered Species Act. There's a God squad that can review actions of the that can be appointed by the Secretary of the Interior to review this whole thing. But and that's what they call it, under the Endangered Species Act, all right? Now, I don't think we should start getting in the business of overturning the Endangered Species Act in this committee when we haven't had hearings, we haven't looked at this. This has not been a subject, and it's not the jurisdiction of this committee. It's the jurisdiction of the authorizing committee.
Mr. Chairman will yield. I mean, God darn, if we don't act on this, you're going to create, lay the foundation to destroy this agriculture industry. I mean, they're on the edge right now of going bankrupt all over Central California. It'll eliminate the tomato industry, for example. About half the tomatoes produced in the country.
What is it in the biological opinion that the gentleman objects to?
My friend, I object to a judge saying a smelt's more important than 40,000 largely Hispanic farmers, workers in the Central Valley, and impacting the price of food to all of Californians as well as the country. In turn, over time, those same policies are going to radically impact water availability in Southern California. So that's what I object to.
Well, I again think if we start down this road, every interest in the country will be coming here to try to stop putting in place the Endangered Species Act, which has been there for 50 years. It's an important statute. I don't think we should get in the business of overriding it. We resist that in our committee. I don't think we should do it here in the full committee.
Is the gentleman seeking recognition?
Yes. I thank the gentleman. You probably wonder why somebody from Iowa cares about this. I was out there this spring and driving through the Central Valley, and when I finally got down to Devin's place, I said, what is going on here? Why is all this land laying fallow? For anyone not in agriculture, that means nothing's planted on it, okay? Why is this happening? And it's because of this very situation that we're in. And the endangered species are human beings in the Central Valley there. It is unbelievable what someone who has got a warped interpretation of the Endangered Species Act is doing to real human beings, 40, 50,000 people. And like Mr. Calvert said, the highest suicide rate. This is a disaster. I mean, I am a farmer, understand agriculture, and you can't grow anything without water. And when somebody arbitrarily cuts off your lifeline, which is water in this case, it is devastating, it is cruel and inhuman to these people who are trying to make a living out of vegetables and fruits and the things that we need all over this country. And to me, it is just simply outrageous what's going on here. And these people deserve some consideration. And this committee better act now or there's going to be people die out there because of it. Thank you.
The chair recognizes himself. We have heard a lot the last 3 weeks about regular order. You bet it's not regular order. I don't have the luxury as chairman of this committee, and I submit that most of you don't have the luxury either, of simply voting on issues like this on the basis of how you feel or how your district would feel or what your preferences are on the issue. The problem is we have to pass 12 appropriation bills. We got to pass them before we go home in August. We ain't going home in August until they're passed. And the fact is, if amendments like this pass, we aren't going to have the votes on the floor to pass this bill because the authorizing committees who have jurisdiction are going to insist that one of two things happen. Either they're going to insist that these non-germane amendments be stripped from the bill by the Rules Committee, or else they're going to insist that the bill not be brought up. And if it's brought up, you're going to have people on the authorizing committee voting against the bill. We don't have that kind of margin to spare. The second point I would simply make is this. Can anybody in this room tell me whether you agree or disagree with the allocation of $220 million in Recovery Act funding from the Bureau of Reclamation for California, or $160 million to projects only for the Central Valley? Anybody here know whether those are the right numbers or not? I certainly don't. What about the allocation of $40 million for drought relief, most of which will go to California? Is that the right allocation? I don't know, and I submit none of you do either. The fact is, it's all nice to have all of these wish amendments be put up, and many of them may be perfectly legitimate, but they're in the wrong place. We don't have the jurisdiction, we don't have the expertise, and we don't have the time to indulge amendment after amendment that simply delays us from getting our work done. So if you've got legitimate amendments that are within the jurisdiction of this committee, by all means, bring them up. We've even accepted some that were not in the jurisdiction of the committee. But recognize there are certain actions that if you take, this bill won't pass, your earmarks in the bill won't become law, it'll be part of a CR. If that's the outcome you like, vote for the amendment.
The chairman yield to it. Mr. Farr makes.
I don't have the time. Let me.
You'll just for a second. If such restrictions would result in levels of export less than the historical maximum level of export, I mean that means you don't give a damn anything about these species. You're going to use all of this water for agriculture and overturn the National Marine Fisheries Service, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, who've come in with their biological opinions. I mean, I think that is too excessive in the first place, and I can't support it. I appreciate your yielding.
Saving the Central Valley pretty soon if you don't fix it.
Well, the gentleman yield. I think this is one of the manifestations of climate change and global warming. I mean, you guys, you don't want to face the reality. You've got all the science in the world saying this is exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have more droughts. You're going to have higher temperature, and there's going to be less water. And this is going to be the problem we face. And I think it's time for you guys over there who just groaned to face the reality of what we're up against as a country and a world.
Ken, whoever, Ken, I drove through here yesterday, and the whole canal was full. All the trees around Interstate 5 were healthy. I mean, those orchards are doing extremely well. I agree with you. There's some devastating problems in the valley, but Secretary Salazar has the authority and has put together this task force to see where some balances can be made. Remember, water's bought by big contracts, and as that level says, you get these contracts at their maximum historical level. That's a lot of water.